Hey guys, we're going to be live here in just about 3 minutes. It's 6:57. %72 of the way to our initial goal. Doing pretty good, guys. Let's go ahead and get Dwarf Fortress all started up here. Right on time. Give me a second. Therapist, for some reason, always screws up. If I try to load it before there's a fort, even if I hit retry or close later, it never wants to load after that. Ah, that's good to know. We have a hole in our road right there. That moment where your wife leans over and says, "Dear, you need to put your camera on the screen." For shame, for shame. Okay, so I haven't actually done anything yet. The first thing we're going to do is actually build a floor over this hole here. It turns out that part of our road was constructed over a frozen pond, with the net result that our road here has deconstructed because it is no longer suitable for the terrain over which it is built. So we need to put some floor down here to fill those gaps, and we'll just go ahead and use the iron bars because they're here and because why not? That was the whole name of the fortress after all, right? And once those floor units are constructed, then we can go back and build the road over the top of them and not have it collapse later on. We'll have that problem solved. And if it turns out I'm wrong and the frozen parts will still uproot both of the floor and the road, then we'll come back and drain it out or chisel it out during the winter and fill it in with walls instead.
I can't do it. Why do you think I can do this? I can't do that there. Sorry, I can't do it, sir.
Let's check in on our barracks here. See
I
what's
can't do
going
that
on.
there.
It's the middle of the month, and I don't see a bunch of folks training in here. What's up with this? Ah, there's why I never set them onto their training alert. So now we have to do these guys too, after all. We are assuming that everyone right now is going to do their training schedule, which is why we were needing to double up on some of them, because they will end up in the militia at different months, and we will need to have someone available and doing work at any given time. Now there's going to be a giant horde of sometime militiamen now arriving in my barracks, because I've basically told half the fortress that, you know, a third of the year they're in training as militiamen too.
I can't do it.
Let's double check on our schedule here and make sure all our reserves are set up to train. And we need to actually, this is our, make sure he's all, oh, so we just need to copy one of these guys. Okay, there we go. Yeah, we can do that. So we'll take him too on. Copied again instead of pasted. Paste. Paste. See? I can do that. It's just a matter of getting my brain to run the right direction. Okay, so now all of our squads should have their little waterfall schedule here, except for those ones we haven't defined yet. The ones that have names but haven't actually been given anything. We haven't decided what those squads will be yet. Check in here, because what we want to do actually is dig out each floor has access across these two tiles all the way down to this level. The reason we're doing that is that as we excavate each floor of this eventual tree farm, they'll always have access back to the staircase, always have access back to the top, no matter. We're not capable of severing, as long as we go level by level and strip mine these each time. We're not capable of accidentally severing our access and screwing our dwarves up.
I can't do that there.
Let's check in on that floor. Did it get done? Looks like somebody came along and got it done. Yes, indeed. Okay, so now let's build that. Should have made it out of lead. We got more than enough lead. We're not going to use that for anything
Sorry,
else.
I can't do it, sir.
But lead is not as valuable. Since I didn't have a ready supply of gold on hand, I'm paving it with iron is about the next best thing. Steel would have worked, I suppose. We could have started making steel just to pave our roads with. Check my stockpile, make sure it's not allowed to hold anything. It's a custom. We just paint it right back on. Zap. Just enough to, make sure we're not getting trees up against the fort again. That tree was actually outside the stockpile before, but it's okay. We're just painting this in. Remember, it's not intended to actually... Hey, that's interesting. I think maybe he's gotten it so it gets rid of the stockpiles now. 'Cause I'm sure I had one here. There's a tree right up there against the... Or it could be... No? Interesting. Maybe this doesn't work any longer. Maybe I have misinformed my audience and I am terribly ashamed. Toadie's changed this, then we're going to have to do something different. We're going to have to get creative.
I can't do that there.
We have to switch over to dirt roads, or heaven forbid, we have to pave it.
Oh, that's just great. Another mouth to
Can
feed.
you imagine a dwarf fortress with a parking lot? I gotta get rid of my little thought experiment out there in front, too. We never did deconstruct that. Let's go upstairs and make sure we finished our bridges. Did we finish all the bridges? Yes, we did. Excellent, excellent. And it should be the case that because we've still got that workshop position there, that they stand on the south side of this when they construct it, locking themselves in and allowing me to rehide the workstation without any issue. Cross your fingers. Let's see if it works. And they have done it. Now we designate that same area for hiding. We just re-hide that workstation and all it entails. Poof, it's gone. Never existed. The end. The beehives are obviously up and running. We've got an enormous number of bees going now. So we can actually mark some of these once they are... Oh, I got a few more that need to be built in here. Let's see if we've got enough hives to... Nope, still not enough hives. Need to build 4 more. We'll just throw them right up there at the top and get them done. I didn't calculate it. I just threw out the number when I built them originally and said, okay, that looks like a good number. We'll go clip right about there. Turns out I was 4 short. Just throw 4 more on the pile.
Oh, I won't do it.
May have to just opt for strip mining the place to get to what we want at the end. Get that coal. Once we get magma workshops up and running, of course, this will stop being an issue. So let's go down and take a look at that. Let's see where we're at. So we never did quite get all the way down. Oh, well, that's definitely not going to go that deep. That's below the bottom of the world, so that's easy enough. Now we'll just let the dwarves run for a minute, and we should get some miners coming along to make contact with the caverns for us here shortly. Here are 2 lighting up staircases as we speak. This is the phase where we risk delving too greedily and too deep. Still stuns me, 100 Z levels. Whew. Totally not intended.
Oh, no way. No, I can't do it. No. Sorry, I can't do it, sir.
Now that's interesting. There we go. There's definitely solid ground right there at 109.
No, I can't do it. No. It won't work.
Okay, let's see if we've done this correctly, because if we have, there should be one tile between
I
us
think
and
I
the
can do
farmland.
this.
We hope. Ooh, let's check one other thing while we're thinking about it. So there's a high point right here, and then it slopes downward over this direction. So we should snuggle right up next to the tunnel and then be able to smooth and fortify the wall to make contact with the cave. Now, if we've dug too far, our first priority at that point will be to get a wall up. I think we should be okay here. Remember, all vanilla here. I didn't do anything out of the ordinary with respect to DF hack or special tools.
No. I said no.
Just using the default build plot. It's not vanishing. I know where it is. It's right here on floor 109. Now we gotta wait on engravers, who are indulging their craft lust at the moment. We're gonna stop that. Everybody kind of gets mopey about not being able to do stuff, but you look over here and everybody's doing either has a craft skill or is doing another one. Okay, and on to the stone detailing we go. Let them finish up their current craft. They're still working away here on in Dwarven Etsy land here, where we can get our crafts done, get everybody a little bit of craft skill done, so they can be happy about improving a skill. Give our dwarves something to claim. There we go. There's our cavern. Okay, so now what's happened here is our staircase. Oh, and they found raw adamantine in the first cavern. There you go. Nice. Must be what this is. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's what that is. And there's a big long spur coming off of it right away. It just goes right on down through there. It's going to spike down through the cavern, so that's nice. Okay, so let's go up a little bit here and get back to our staircase. Let's see where we made our penetration at. And it looks like we're going to wing that cavern and then we can go on down. So now we have two choices. This level looks like it'll be solid all the way up. No harm there. This level is exposed. There are 5 tiles we'll have to build. This level is exposed at its ground level, and we'll have to build 5 tiles here as well. If we're quick and we get to it immediately and we don't screw around, it's possible to get this walled up. This is pretty deep. We may not get it done fast enough because it's so deep to carry all the blocks. Let's go for it. This is one of those instances where if you're not going to use very close by materials, you need to be using blocks, because the distance to carry a stone boulder from way up top somewhere down to here would take you forever and a day. I'm going to close that off real quick so we don't run the risk that we hit some other cave further down, because we need to get this breach sealed up as fast as possible.
No.
Got to get somebody to do these in a hurry, so I don't care who comes and does it. I just need it done fast.
I can't do that there. It won't work.
And as soon as they get that one built, we'll build one here and above the other one. We're hoping that they will stand inside the staircase when they do this entire time. So far, so good. Still doing all right. And then once they've done that, I'll cancel off those older jobs, these outer jobs that we don't really need, that were just there to help guide the dwarves where to stand. And damn, that didn't take long. Punched a hole for 2 seconds, and the damn gremlin's trying to walk in. Okay. And again, we're going up one floor. Now we're doing the same thing as before. So we built the ground floor. So this is solid. There's no hole in the wall here. This was exposed all the way down the left wall. We built a left wall. This is exposed all the way down the left wall above it. And so now we're going to seal that up as well so that nothing can fly or climb in. Oh, I didn't look, Clinidev. Have they announced the release for it? Oh, I am looking forward to a revised quick port that lets me load and save. That would be nice. What do we got here? Is this still dogs arguing about who gets to stand where? Yeah, it's just a space argument. Sorry, I wanted to check on that combat log just to make sure it wasn't something serious that I need to concern myself with. Let's go back down here to the cave and get this seal looked at here real quick. That's good. This one is one of 2. Okay. Gotta wait for that last one. Oh. But I can build both of those because I need to leave at least one space for him to stand on to build this one. But those 2, they can stand anywhere they want and they'll build it and they'll be fine. And once those 2 and once these 3 here really are built, we've sealed this up.
Sir, a baby's been born.
Oh, that's just great. Another mouth
Dang
to
it,
feed.
now I gotta go back down again. I still don't have a hotkey down there just yet. Zoom. Too fast. There it is. Okay. We'll just use the humble Gabbro to fill in these last 2 holes, and if they can get these last 2 holes filled in, we are safe from anything that might be coming at us from the caverns before we're ready for it. We just need that one last block.
No.
Will they do it?
It won't work.
And they have ensured their continued safety for another few days. I can't give them any longer than that, of course. It's one of my fortresses. Let's see. Now, we've made a punch into that cavern, what we assume is one cavern. But that's way down at 130, and we know there's one up here at 119. So that's probably cavern 3 we punched a hole, or 2 or 3 we punched a hole into. Now that we've got it sealed up, let's continue the dive. We redesignate the staircase, and off they go. Oh, I'm going to have to look at it, Clinidev. New version of DF Hack with new version of QuickFort sounds very, very tasty to me. Macros work. There's nothing wrong with macros. I intend to demonstrate macros at some point in this stream just to be able to split coins in order to demonstrate the melting exploit. But I think the ability to lay out designate and build a fortress that takes advantage of the existing planning mode implementations and all of that stuff.
No, 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 no.
Oh man.
No.
We're rapidly getting into, please, Toady, please take these guys on board, adopt their functionality for your UI. We didn't do that very symmetrically, did we? There it is. And that's a big pile of iron with some coal to make a little steel on the side. Go up here and check our Okay, let's excavate this out and see if we can't get that coal out as well. We're going to have plenty of room down here once we've excavated a few of these clusters to allow any aquifer leakage to spread out for a while. wall this back, dig this out and wall this back in. Although we may build ourselves a little door here and use it to access this area later. Aha! Our military has begun to spar. Now we'll get some proper movement. They'll spar their way all over the barracks here. Eventually you'll start seeing other pairs reach the point where they too will begin to spar. First, they kind of have to get into skill parity with one another across all their skills. If one guy has biter and the other doesn't, they have to teach one another each the skills that they don't have. So there's a little bit of demonstration stuff that goes on at the beginning where, you know, I teach you how to bite, you teach me how to kick, and I teach you how to punch. Then you teach me how to put some guy's head in a full Nelson, and then we decide we're okay to start treating with spears. And these sparring attacks here are much better for training dwarves. Once we get our dwarves sparring regularly across multiple pairs, training will start to rocket through the roof. They got all those dwarves to do all those tricks in all those movies, not because those were, you know, highly trained Hollywood actors, but because dwarves, once they reach a certain point and are able to spar, are capable of becoming superhuman practically overnight. A couple years of training and suddenly they're capable of beheading a whole goblin siege by themselves. But the trick is that it needs to be sparring because it needs some sort of live training. Demonstrations don't cut it. And if you look at your units, you look at your citizens, you're going to see these individual combat drills not as effective. Dodging demonstration, wrestling demonstration, this is how these folks get trained in the skills that they are lacking when they join up, so that everybody gets to a certain baseline before they can start sparring. Doing them in pairs like this means that some of your more skilled guys are not being held up longer waiting on the least skilled dwarves to be trained up to baseline. Now, unfortunately, when you first start out, what you're going to end up with is something like we've got here, right?
I can't do that there.
See all these zeros? This is everybody who's basically watching a demonstration to learn how to wrestle. And they all have to learn it. They're all expected to learn how to fight hand-to-hand combat, for example. Biter will usually not be demonstrated, but you'll see it start to spread as they do it in training. Sorry, I see dwarves showing up as not having pants. I start looking to see if there's a shortage of pants. Got some worn pants, but there's still plenty of not worn and, you know, brand new masterworks that we've made since we arrived. Pants. Doesn't seem like anybody should be short on their clothing options here. Since that's the second or third time now I've seen the trouser dilemma show up, let's spread it out a little. Sparring continues to spread. Now there are 3 people who've had sparring reports, so that's, you see what I'm saying? Now there's an additional person who's in on the sparring who paired off with one of the original 2, and I can find out which one, but it doesn't matter. Once there's 4, they'll pair off in 2 twos and so forth, and they'll start spreading out their sparring. See, now it's choppers getting in on the action. That's great. That gets your military melee troops, your shock troops, if you will, up and running fairly quickly. Let's talk about how we're going to deal with folks who aren't being attacked in melee. And what I'm intending to do here, I think, is I am going to... Let's see if we got below this. Well, if there's nothing dug out right below it, we know it's solid all the way down to 100 and whatever, so we're good there. Okay, so I'm thinking we'll dig a shortcut from here across, and we'll dig this to make this a little longer. Use that as the shortcut even, potentially. And we will convert it into a dodgem trap. And by that I mean we will have an array of fortifications where archers can shoot out over a crosswalk, where the goblins and other invaders walk across this catwalk back and forth in a serpentine motion because it's the only open path into the fortress. We leave it open. In the process of going across this, we attack them with weapon traps and bolts from crossbowmen or civilian archers drafted into the archer militia. We can station all of our dwarves right here along this one little boundary if we want and just blacken this area with arrows. And then, if they dodge at any point, any dodge means that they're going to be out into open space over a void where we then drop them, 10, 15 stories straight down into a spike pit, or straight down onto, even onto the stone itself will be enough at that point. You're looking at, massive injury, if not explosion, after 10 levels. You could probably go, 7 or 8 or 5 or 7 and start talking about maybe they start having significant leg and injuries. Maybe they can't walk out. You have to come in and finish them off with knife work. Giving them a drop pit gives us our archers, and if we do it right, there's a way we can rig it up so that we can employ siege engines in the whole mix for why not. So let me think about how we want to do this for a moment. If we position it so that the siege engines and archers are along this side, firing from north to south. that's starving. Let's deal with that first. Now that we've got cave moss starting to sprout, we can look at pasturing animals. What's on that space? Anything still? Nothing? Oh, all that stuff we never unforbid. Oh, well, that's just logs and coke and stuff, so that's nothing harmful there. We can allow all of that stuff and get rid of it. Okay, so let's do that. DB, reclaim. And we'll just reclaim everything in that little spot. And then we're going to dig out another little pasture area like this one for our sheep and get them out of the temple finally. And we'll get rid of that stockpile. That lack of cassiterite and copper ore is why we had such trouble with finding ores to smelt into bronze here for a bit. I didn't realize we hadn't unforbid the stuff we dumped in here. We immediately jumped straight onto iron and away we went. I believe that fortifications here should provide us access to this first cavern just in terms of discovery purposes, which was what my original intent was. But since we missed the first cavern on the way down, I think we went all the way to cavern 3 before we actually punched a hole in anything.
Bastard will take me alive.
Thief again trying to sneak across the bridge and discovering very quickly that there's an entire horde of dogs directly between him and the door. And there's our new cavern with a downward passage. Give me just a second here, guys, and I'll be right back. Sorry about that. Let me take a look here. I thought we should have had if it said we found a downward passage. Let's see if we can figure out where it meant. So as we dive down, and this is, there it is right there. And it's right in that area right there. Yeah, there's a little ramp down here, and then it kind of goes out of our sight. But see how there's a little tiny hole here that dives down through below, well below 110. So this is actually going down to the next cave. We can't see far enough to actually discover it, but that one actually goes down to the cave between them. So that first cave we discovered does look to have been cave 3. And then this is cave 1. So now that we've got access to the caves, and we know where cave 3 is, we know that the remainder of our staircase here is going to dive straight into the Magma Sea. At which point we can discover it, core it out, close it off, and figure out how we want to approach building a temporary magma workshop down here, just to be able to make sure we don't run out of the ability to make items. We could turn around at that point and have one each. And then later on, when we decide we want to move the magma up, we can do that and forbid these workshops and they never get used again. They are going to be terribly, terribly, terribly inefficient. So much hauling to use them every time, right? But the goal is that they will be there. Looks like our miners have a lot of stuff going on. Let's see. Oh. The Lash of Lilacs now requires a Grand Guild Hall. Okay. With a Farmer Guild. So, let's go back up and look at our guild. We designated for them, which is here. And it says, oh my, we must have 7,000 more value packed into our space here, and we've already engraved everything we can engrave, so it's going to have to be tables and furniture at that point, and that means removing these stockpiles, which is kind of a shame. I kind of like them there. However, this storage area directly above that was intended to be raw food, and it looks like primarily this is all becoming raw food. So let's set this up to give to that one. And we'll get rid of the take. And we'll mark this one to take from, I'm sure it's the one up there. Furniture stockpile 2. Really? We didn't designate a... Oh, there it is right there. That's the plant stockpile. Have that give to... Sorry. I'm going to do this right here. That one. Then go down here and get rid of this stupid entry I put in here where we were trying to do this thing with the furniture stockpile, because that's the wrong stockpile. As long as your settings on what can be allowed in the stockpiles are correct, it won't hurt anything. A furniture stockpile can't give to a food stockpile. But it does look a little unsightly.
No, I can't do it.
Once that starts happening and all this food starts going away, we can remove this stockpile. We'll just have to deal with it not being there, and we'll have to use the floor upstairs. If necessary, we'll have to expand the floor upstairs. But let's get this all moved up first. And then we can look at how we're going to put in value. And we may have to jam in some gold statues or something here before we're done. We don't really have the gold. We could use iron or steel. Let's do that. We're starting to get stuff scooped up and moved into the upper room. Get this stuff moved out of here before it starts to rot, unfortunately, because if it does, I'm going to have to dump it. Weekend's treating me pretty good so far. We're 70% of the way to our initial goal. If we can meet that, we'll look at seeing if maybe we can top last year's record. And since our broker is on duty in the military this season, wait a minute. Make sure we get everyone into the military. Since our broker is on duty in the military this season, right here, although he's marked as no activity, I'm curious what he's doing. These guys bring some more of their goodies out to trade here. And then we'll look to see who we could temporarily replace our broker with. Now, if we want to use somebody specific as a backup broker, we'll need to like swap them in temporarily while we make our trade and then swap them back to our original broker once we're done. Since the merchants are still bringing their wagons in at this point, we got a little time yet to keep bringing items out for trade. Remember, I told them to bring out piles and piles of rings and figurines and stuff made out of rock, all of which is of value, but not of significant value individually. Each piece might be worth somewhere between, 10 and 50 dwarf bucks. Now, once we start getting up towards the masterwork end of things, then things start to get particularly more valuable. At that point, we start to bring in some real trade value per item. I'm hoping that by dragging these to the trade depot and then away to be hauled away to their stockpile, that dwarves will be able to fulfill their need in picking things up for their own use. Rings and scepters and earrings and such. Looks like Logum and Onel both have access to this skill, and Logum is normally our, I believe they're in, let's see, are they in different squads? Reserve 1 and Reserve 4, they're probably on the same schedule to boot. Ustuth the kitchen worker. Ustuth Menging. Our original trader is bringing items to depot, so he's good. We'll throw Logan back into the mix and tell him to do the trading this time out. Now, if you are, as I am, slightly panicked when every time the combat noise comes up, a quick glance to the top left shows us that the only report we have actually shown on screen is the sparring report, which means that my militia continues to spar. There are now 6 individuals who have sparring reports. The virus of militia improvement continues to spread. Okay, let's trade. See, and I didn't even get to the gems. There's just screens of gems after that we didn't even get to. So we didn't quite get all their bars. We did get all of this junk pulled out of this junk is going to leave the fortress now. And some of it, like this green zircon figurine of hamsters here. You know, that turned out pretty good. Diorite scepters. See, some of this stuff starts to top 100 dwarf bucks once it starts having high quality marks. Remember, we're producing this out of the equivalent of, like I said, Etsy. We just throw every dwarf we have at it. Some of it's not worth anything. 10 dwarf bucks. 10 dwarf bucks. But as a side effect, they get... Oops. No, cancel. As a side effect, they get positive mood from... Oops. Trade all of that. Thank you. And then... Trade. Yes. You won't trade at a loss. What do I... Oh. Yeah, no kidding, you won't trade at a loss. There we go. If they bring any extra goodies out, we may trade for some additional stuff along the way. Everything they're bringing us is bars, which we can use in our workshops to make high-value coins or... Oh, speaking of coins, that's something I didn't bring out and trade. If we can get some of those up here with some value to trade for, we may look at splitting some of those. Steel coins. We haven't done any steel coins yet. We need to make some of those. Did we do bronze coins? Make bronze bars. Bronze battle axe. It's interesting. We did bronze battle axes, but we never did iron weapons for everybody, did we? Well, let's fix that problem, because we no longer need the bronze battle axes. Let's get rid of that. Yoink. And we got all the steel stuff being produced in terms of generic steel armor for everyone, which is great. But we didn't bother to queue up, it looks like, any steel weapons. Now, there's a reason why I'm using iron for crossbows instead of steel. The material of a crossbow only really matters when it affects the quality of the quality of the item itself by virtue of the quality of the craftsman. That is to say, if you have a higher quality bone crafter than you do a metal crafter, then you'll get a higher quality crossbow out of the bone crafter than the other way around. But that aside, the only time the material of a crossbow matters is when they use it as a blunt weapon in melee combat, at which point iron actually is preferable to steel because it is slightly more dense and heavy. Although we don't want our dwarves using their crossbows as blunt weapons, if they have to do so, iron actually outperforms steel slightly as a blunt weapon, not as an edged weapon. As an edged weapon, steel is far superior. But as a blunt weapon, you can get away with iron crossbows, which means we don't have to have the extra flux stone usage and coal consumption necessary to make all that steel just to outfit our dwarves with our dwarven peasantry with iron crossbows. Now, what we will do is change we'll set up a uniform for our specialist militia that may have steel, because we're going to use them. I want to make them shine. I'm going to see if we can't dye their leather cloaks a nice color or something along the way as well. So let's see. We've got all the weapons queued up. Let's go back down here and put their conditions on them. Oh, we did crossbows. Oh, good. Yeah, that's what we want to do. That's exactly what we want to do. Okay, so that works fine. Let's get rid of this one. Oop, gone. Conditions, reagents, and products. Oops. And then... Yep, let's do that. And then go down here. Conditions and reagents and products. And go down one more. Conditions and products and reagents. And that'll get us making steel weapons. Now, in order to get those done prior, or more importantly, or queued up faster or sooner or more often than the other steel jobs, we need to promote them up the queue a little bit so that they are checked more often. There are only so many jobs that the manager will queue up in a given workshop, and to make sure that your jobs get queued up first and therefore are always represented, they need to be further up the list. So since we've neglected our weaponry at the moment, we're going to just move these on up the list here and get them done a little ahead of the armor if we can. It does not look like we bothered to make raw iron armor either, so we may go on ahead and do some of that. We have an abundance of iron at the moment, and sort of a pinch on steel because it's difficult to get access to all of the materials necessary to make it at the present time. So the other thing we're going to do is go down here and get this steel coin job and move it all the way up here. And then we're going to, let's see, let's make trap components, I think. Yeah, trap components, I think. So it looks like it's not been altered yet, and you can still melt down non-adamantine items to get back. So let's do that. And this job is not actually to make the trap components that we're looking like we're going to make here. This job, like the coins job, is to actually provide us with a source of steel that we can melt down and use as a source of steel. We're going to break the game. Oh, the sparring has continued to spread, and now even the dogs are getting in on the action. The dog is sparring. Oh, no, wait, I'm sorry. He just got in the way of somebody else sparring. Bad dog. Bad. Let's see. Let's set this zone up as an animal training zone, because why not train the dogs right where they're going to be used anyway? and mark our dogs for war training. Temporarily, I have to disable the other engravers because I need to get this room engraved at high quality. What is Valdemar up to at the moment? He is watching a stone crafting demonstration, it appears. Uh-oh. Stone crafting demonstration, boys and girls. The guild hall is a hoppin'. $31 is important to notice as a upper bound number that you want to be aware of. Zones cannot be larger than 31 by 31 in size, which means a 31 diameter circle like this is the largest possible circular zone you can build, and still include the outer edges of the northeast, south, and west edges. I believe everything bigger than that, you'll start to gain further rows and columns. It gets wider. And so at that point, you've gone beyond what the zone can contain. You'll have edges of the room that aren't contained within the zone. Let's see what they've got here. We definitely ain't going to buy it all. But we could buy a big chunk of it. Ooh, okay, so that's everything, is it? Okay, can't get everything, man. Now what we're doing here is we're effectively splitting off one coin from each one of these stacks into individual coin stacks. Once that individual coin is melted down, we'll get a certain amount of iron back out of it. And if all 500 coins were similarly stripped down using the macro I built this way, we could actually get back more metal that we put in. Interesting, terrifying that he tends to expand which limit. I'm sorry, Clinitive, I missed your comment. Which limit was I talking about when you mentioned it? What limit is Toad going to expand? The full embark stockpile. One item per tile or whatever? The full embark stockpile. I'm not sure I want to know. It sounds horrifying in the way. We'll bring out some more trade grease to get our items split up here.
Baby's been born.
Yes, but that's for zones. Are you serious he's going to do that for stockpiles? You can't imagine wanting to make a stockpile bigger than 31 by 31 just by virtue of the travel time. Zones bigger than zones that size makes sense in a way because they get benefit from items contained in the zone. Like, you know, your guild halls get a benefit from being large and engraved, right? See, I'm going to have to get this done fairly quickly because I told them I'd build them a grand guild hall, and I'm not sure I can do it in the existing space without dismantling all my workshops and replacing them with furniture. So we're going to move them to a new location. Room designations being multi-Z. Stockpiles I don't see the benefit of. Zones I can see the benefit of being larger than 31 by 31 because maybe you want to have a really big pasture on the surface. For example, if you can build your wall, you know, 2 tiles high, dig a trench 2 tiles deep outside it and put a lip on the outside of it, nobody's going to jump up to the outside. Only flying animals are going to get to your grazing stock on the inside. A big wall like that isn't really that hard to get constructed in a thickly forested area. You can simply cut the trees down and then just use whatever's closest as you build the wall around. The trees will practically be there will practically have logs on site all the way around the entire camp at any distance you want to do it. Making a zone that size and saying, well, this is now everything in my courtyard is a pasture. I can see benefit in that. Stockpiles, though, that just means all that transit time every time somebody has to get an item, and the bigger the stockpile gets, the more transit time you're building into the stockpile. At that point, if you're going to go beyond 31 by 31, I think you just bite the bullet and shrug it off and go to a quantum stockpile and be done with it. If you're going to acknowledge that you need to store more items at one time than that, I mean, I've never computed. What's the number of tiles in a 31 by 31 stockpile with a staircase in the middle, still part of the stockpile? $20 by 20 would be 400. 25 by 25 would be six and a quarter. So, you know, somewhere in this space is several hundred tiles worth of storage. There you go. 961. I've never bothered to calculate it. That's an enormous number of tiles of storage. It's just... It's unfathomable to me that you would want to store more items than that. Unless Toady is going to turn around and assert that we get a performance benefit from having these items in stockpiles, as opposed to loose on the floor, which may be the case, then I'm not seeing what larger stockpiles gain me as a fortress builder. I'm really not. It just looks like more pathfinding. And already you can start to see my dwarves are starting to slow down as that. I mean, these are trained miners in most cases, and they're slowing down to get through stuff.
No. I said no.
There we go. Now, is our nobleman happy? Is he all happy with his pretty bedroom? Yes, he is. Yes, he is. Okay, good. Now we can get those other engravers back on work. Just needed to make sure that bedroom was of high enough quality to keep the manager happy, because he was starting to get snorty about his bedroom. Let's see. Giant crab. What? Apparently a giant crab tangled with our military. We apparently have giant crabs here. Incidentally, don't let it go to your head. Oh, giant crab legs would be wonderful. I think for giant crab legs, I'd be out there with a warhammer myself. Well, let's see how that actually went here, just to make sure that the giant crab didn't get the better of us in some fashion. Lots of smashing, punching, and bashing. The crab fell over. More smashing, punching, bashing, kicking, punching, lodging in wounds, pulling on the embedded, spear, more bashing. The giant crab got enraged. Managed to get loose from the archer's bite. Got stabbed. Missed a dude. Got scratched a couple times. Missed another guy. Got punched. And then got stabbed. And his foot got cloven asunder. And then punched in the cephalothorax. And blew out his midsection. So the archer literally punched his torso out. Hey, Goblin of Gygaxanor, welcome back.
I can't do it.
And the sparring continues to spread. Choppers and stabbers and smashers all. Training is real, yo. Alright, so they're still harvesting rock from this floor here. I think we'll go down a little further. I think it was... No, it was up further, actually. Interesting. Never finished this because we wanted to do something else at the time. Something else is right here. So we need to finish this up, get this smoothed up. Actually, wait a minute. We may be able to make this work up here. Put Valdemar back on priority engraving duty and see if maybe we can't get through engraving value the extra. What do we want from them? What do we want from them? Finished instruments. Yes, let's do finished instruments. Now, here in a minute, I'm going to show you guys how to set up all of the parts for every instrument so that you can set up a job so that there are always instruments on hand and so that your dwarves will recreate instruments if you sell the inferior ones off. There are, it appears, 9 different types of instruments. If we had 20 of each, that's 180 instruments we have to store. Keep that in mind. No, see, that's the thing. Yeah, I get that the small one would be more tender and delicious. That's true, I admit. But giant crab means you literally can take the thing, smash a limb off, haul the whole limb over to the fire, pit bake the whole thing, and eat it caveman style.
Right, with lots of butter.
Lemon and butter.
No lemon,
And away you
just
go.
butter.
And who knows, it might be sweet like snow crab. Oh, I don't know what else we want here. Let's see. Instruments, pets. We could do with a couple more grazers in our particular... Let's see, get Get some more of those. Get some more of those, because we're going to have losses to combat at some point. Get those underway. Blue peahens. The other advantage to importing animals is that we get the cage with them for. We'll put big air quotes on it, for free, if you will, which allows us to import animals and increase our own meat and leather turnover. That is to say, the industry depends on how fast we turn those animals around from living animal to products. And if we bring in additional animals, it will trigger auto butchers thresholds sooner, causing us a higher rate of turnover in our own animals. Auto butcher is smart. It keeps the youngest adults and the oldest children. So it always has a turnover of animals for you. If their animals turn out to be older than ours, they get butchered first. If their animals are younger than ours, we butcher our older animals, and so on. By doing this, it keeps our livestock young, healthy, and in control, and gives us a higher throughput for things like meat and leather. No, it's going slow. With all this excavation we're having to do to get down to the bottom, and the tree fort itself, or the tree farm itself, excavation is slow. I don't have the frame rate monitor up. Maybe I should, but it's gonna take a while. That'll do. See what they're going to offer us. Let's see. None of this stuff is particularly good. Goblets is good. We can do goblets. We'll produce goblets for out of glass or out of metals, out of some of those bars we've used as intake. Aluminum goblets and rose gold goblets and so forth. If we can get a few of those, get them encrusted with gold gems, and turn around and sell them, even a handful of them are high value. Failing that, though, I believe we did in fact ask them to bring us to bring up discs for sale, and discs are normally high enough value that they themselves should not be a problem. Ooh, we crossed a month threshold, so we need to back out of here, go into nobles, go down to our broker, and replace him. does not appear that my clever butt remembered to queue up wooden bins. Apparently, it's not as clever as I thought it was. Ah, finally, here he goes. So, our Mason's Workshop has literally cluttered itself almost to death at this point. This clutter marker here tells us that it's so full of things that it's about ready to explode. If we actually unloaded it, it would literally cover large chunks of the ground with all of the stuff that's in it. Just pages and pages and pages of blocks and furniture, and the workshop is literally full, full, full. We're coming along and we're extracting some of it as I tell it to build some of these items off, but we really need a place to store some of these items. We'll store our blocks here, which will get them out of the workshops upstairs.
Sorry, sir, I can't do it.
And we're up to 4,200. And he has only engraved one small section of wall, so we're doing great. Going to Grand Guild Hall status in no time.
No. I'm going to keep this thing. No.
And we were at 4,200, now we're at 6,200. Valdemar's engraving is going to push us over the 10,000 mark easily. And if the other guild demands a similar treatment, it will already have acquired it by virtue of being laid out in the same engraved space. So if, for example, instead we look at the Guild of Fishers, and we look at their quality decorations, they also have, 6,000 in quality. If they decide at some point they want to be a Grand Guild Hall, they're going to have it at the same time as the other group.
No, 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 no. No.
I have not yet trained the leopard for war.
Sorry, sir, I can't do it.
It's fully tame. We may have to station it in the temple just so we get it out of its cage, I suppose. Might as well have it out and about, right? Okay, got all our dogs all queued up. They're being trained. You can see them with their little collars on once they start getting trained. Woof, woof. Now we have dogs that will actually chase down invaders if they come in. Now, I prefer male war dogs for my chains because, generally speaking, they don't reproduce, which leads to a situation where they're not producing puppies outside of a pasture. Sushi bar in the caverns. I may try. We probably won't be in the caverns, though. What we may end up trying to do instead is hopefully be able to fish in our indoor uh, tree farm. I'm going to try and direct the Taiga's brook into our space through multiple waterfalls, down through 2 tree farms, and then off the map. We'll lose water periodically when it freezes on the surface. I'm not really sure how we're possibly going to generate enough water to generate constant flow unless we have a little tiny trickle of river. Given that we lose water pressure due to freezing some number of months out of the year. It's not possible to floor over all the way to the edge of the map, so since it freezes all the way solid out to the edge, I can't, short of maybe doing something crazy with magma maybe later, maybe. That'd be really crazy. I'd probably pull DF liquids out if I wanted to try and keep it thawed year round. We'll lose water, so the river will go periodically, will be dry, but the idea is that the water will fall into like a little lake and then flow out down a little river, and the surrounding all of that will be just a tree farm, like an underground cave park. Nature preserve. I don't know what else to call it. The sparring virus continues to spread. Okay, so let's think about this for a second. We have this place ready to button up, don't we? Yes, we do. It's ready to seal. Now, downstairs, we don't have any traps up yet, do we? Nothing at all. Nothing really defending the place yet. Let's go down. We go... That was close. We sealed that back up. And that goes all the way down, and then it's here. Okay, so... Oh, nuts. We're on the south edge of the map. I can't go further south. Well, then. Damn, I don't have enough room there. Well, we may just have to forgo the siege engines. That's a shame. This is why I usually build closer to the center of the map. But I didn't in this case. There were ponds. Let's see. Okay, so the plan here is we'll need to build a second seal here so we can seal the merchants off from anything that's coming in and let them out if we need to. And also another seal so that we can totally seal ourselves in the event that all of this falls and we have a major clusterfuck going on. Normally, we'll leave this wagon bridge down, allowing our visitors to come in, pass straight on through, across the wagon bridge, and into the depot or into the tavern. This is the shortest route, so normally they'll choose this route. Over a long enough period, eventually we're going to build up wealth and population as we have, and we're going to see a proper siege. And when that happens, we're going to need to be able to deploy our forces in such a way that we can defend ourselves. Oh, when it occurs to me now, I need more room there for the archers. Oh. Well, we're going to use verticality to our advantage is what we're going to do. Because I'll bet we can go up one floor. Yes, we can. We can go up floors and not have a problem. So we're just going to do it. We'll build our archer gallery above them on one floor here, and then we'll just fire down. This is too short for them to need to worry about maximum range anyway. We're in good shape. In fact, now I need to make sure I clear out at least 2 more tiles of space here before I forget. Oops. There we go. Just barely enough room.
Idea and is now secretly thinking about it.
Okay, you secretly think there, guy. You good. Now, let's see here. So, when the invaders come in, we'll close this bridge. Now the shortest path is sealed. Wagons aren't coming in anyway because, well, merchants don't come in the middle of a siege. That'll direct everybody into the longer path. We can fill this area with traps. We can fill this area with weapon traps that will force dodging. They don't even have to be strong weapons. They just have to be weapons. The intent isn't to kill someone outright. It's simply to force them to dodge out of the way. Once they dodge out of the way, there is a 6 in 8 chance, if they change, assuming that they change location when they dodge, that they're going to end up over open space. Even a large dodge doesn't move them more than 3 tiles normally. This seems like a good way you can get some crazy stuff sometimes, but this allows them then to drop down below this. And so what'll happen is below here, we'll just keep excavating down, 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 down. Oh, I don't know. What sounds good? 15 Z levels maybe? At that point, we'll have a staircase that lets them back up, but in the middle. So now, whether they're trying to get in or they're trying to get out, they're going to have to cross the same weapon traps again. Again over the narrow walkway. Again with any dodge leading to them being over open terrain and falling back down the hole. And to be honest, with 10 or 15 Z levels to start, realistically, there's only going to be a handful of things that climb back up. And there aren't going to be many things that climb back up twice. Now, that won't stop flying critters, so we'll have to think of something else for those. That's why there's 2 tiles here and here, so that I can build a bridge on these ends and seal things into this gallery if I need to, while I think of something else to do with whatever else I've got coming in. If necessary, we can seal the inner and the outer, wait for the goblins to all be whacked out, open the inner, dispose of all the corpses, close the inner, open the outer, and then get ready to let the next wave in. As soon as we're ready, open the inner so that they've got a path, and they'll come flooding in trying to get through again. Without a path, they won't navigate in, but with a path, they'll navigate through whatever path we give them. Now, there are downsides to this. Their archers can shoot back, of course, so it's possible for them to shoot our guys down if we're not careful. We'll have to be cautious to allow our guys access to the firing range only when there are no sufficiently trained military troops on the other side to guarantee headshots on every shot through the archery slits. And yes, highly skilled archers treat archery slits like they are not there. Once they get to a certain skill, archers are like that Call of Duty playing 12-year-old who's hyped up on Mountain Dew and Ritalin and has been playing nothing else but that game for the last month. 16 hours a day.
Did you see what I did with this thing? Yes, I'll do it,
But outside of those really highly skilled ones, it's really just lucky shots at that point. And it happens, but it's down to luck. The highly skilled ones ignore the fortifications, though. Those guys you gotta watch for. Etsy continues to earn its weight here in crafts dwarves, I'm hoping. In fact, to get maximum value inside your zone, you really are going to want to go 29 by 29 as your maximum, now that I'm thinking about it, because if I wanted to make this into a guild hall, say, and engrave all the walls, these outer wall edges on the cardinal directions are actually outside the zone and don't contribute to its value. is Valdemar doing? Is he still working on our guild hall up there, I'm betting? Yes. He's getting close, though, because you can see the reddish engravings here where he's done the engraving, but over here it's gray, flat gray, where the engravings haven't been completed yet. So he's getting down to this bottom corner is basically all he hasn't finished yet. Once that's done, we'll turn him loose on the lower level where the crafts dwarves are working, because we want to be able to set up a guild hall for them there. We have an enormous number of crafts dwarves. We might as well turn them around. 360 no scope. 360 no scope, and the plants got processed. Damp stone. Uh-oh, where's our damp stone? Ah. Yeah, we know about this. We know all about this. That's okay. We'll just rebuild all this walled out so that it doesn't flood anymore. We may have to do the same thing one level below, but at this point the aquifer is all but licked.
No, I can't do it.
I just really wish we could ignore the damp stone cancellation so we could send people burrowing into the aquifer. We don't have much in the way of traps. I don't think there's any merchants on site. So, let's see, an Etten. Really big guy with two heads. No, we never did it for some reason. I'm not sure why that ever got suspended, but okay. Let's get our militia up here. And they're formed up. And we swarm the Etten, which does not survive. Let's see. Let's look at that. Let's go back to the footage from the top. Let's see. Etten doing some stuff. Etten gets a chokehold on a war dog, tears some hair, and passes out. The Etten falls over. Ooh. Collapsed the right upper arm on a guy. That ain't good. Let's see. There's some grabbing. Nothing particularly violent yet. This first bit right here where he got that punch, I think is probably going to be the only time he gets anything really done, it looks like. Because after that, it's going to be mob central. He bites a war dog. Tears on the fat. Congratulations there. Bites the war dog again. So basically at this point, they've got him pinned down. And they're just beating the snot out of him. Breaks, breaks, breaks. Misses this guy, misses that guy. Stabbing, stabbing, bashing, kicking. It's a real curb stomping at this point. He bites another war dog, so he's not holding his head down. Basically, he's the only reason he's getting anything done. Need to teach our guys to. I mean, they're just pounding him. Thanks for the military training there, guy. It was that first punch. He's now having trouble breathing. He took a swipe at a passing guinea cock. Wait, I'm sorry. The guinea cock attacked the Etten. I think it's important to note here, the Etten breaks the grip of the guinea cock's beak on the Etten's left hand. So the Etten took a swipe at the guinea cock, and the guinea cock bit his hand and held on. The Etten looks sick. It ain't bad news if you've got a 30 or 40 strong military all equipped with, their weapons. I think they got one guy, or I think we may not have done armor for our guys, but see, we have spears for guys. The Warhammers are out, so we did Warhammers for our squads as well. I didn't see, is there an axe in here somewhere? There's an iron battle axe going to work up here. So, literally, they've got him pinned down among 30, up to 30. I don't know if everybody's got their equipment. So, up to 30 guys, all equipped with iron weapons, all just stabbing and hacking and smashing. That first punch, yeah, alright. And Etten is bad news. Once 30 guys all mob him, he's not bad news anymore. Plus the dogs. We can't forget the dogs. See, the catch is here. You got to remember the guinea hens are tough. I can't say it, to be honest. I've never seen. Ha! Okay, let's see here. Etten breaks grip, Etten breaks grip. We're at page 10 now. Etten is still missing, and Etten is having more trouble breathing, so now they're stabbing him in the upper body, and they're hitting his lungs now. They're breaking his ribs. I mean, they're not getting it done in one hit. They're not getting it done clean. But they're all getting plenty of weapon practice. At this point, the dogs are engaged just hardcore. You gotta imagine, we've got probably 10 or 15 war dogs. I have to look see how many we've got trained. 10 or 15 at least. And they're swarming him. You've got 30 military guys. He's so wildly outnumbered. He's basically getting a professional army right in the face. Well, a reasonably well-trained army in the face. I don't know what we call professional yet. The Etten's still taking swipes at things and I'm amazed he's able to swing. More trouble breathing, so now it's starting to come down to it here. More trouble breathing, and then they bent his neck, and that was it right there. Bends the neck, bends the left neck, bends the right neck. tore a tendon in the skull. Right head has been torn. So I'd have to look to see if Ettins can survive with only one head, or if a kill to either head is lethal. But they basically start stabbing him in the head at some point. Eventually, they shatter his skull. Right head, Terry brain. Right head. Individually, no. An Ettin will mess a dwarf up. They're much bigger, much stronger. 30 dwarves? That's like being attacked by 5-year-olds with hatchets. A 5-year-old ain't gonna wrestle you down, but 5-year-olds with hatchets?
Sorry, sir, I can't do it.
Our professional militia responded. The Ettin went down. Squash. They're already back to sparring. Somebody lost their spear, and I've got to have somebody reclaim it.
So I hate saying no to you, but no.
You know, it occurs to me, I may know how to do what I've been planning. Been talking about doing it. We were going to do it, but wasn't sure exactly how to make it work best. I think I have an idea. So what we will do is, on the right-hand side here, we will excavate a catch chamber.
I'm gonna hang on to this.
Not as big as this cave, but close. Some small area, say this big. A couple of Z levels deep from where the top is. Okay, so from up here. We will dig a bridge that we can close and direct the water into that catch pocket. When that catch pocket is good and full, so we have plenty of backup water, which may take a few seasons because we're dealing with the taiga, remember. Once we know we'll have enough water flow to get good volume, we open the bridge and let the water just jet out into the cavern, flood straight down, and see where it first hits. I'll try to see if I can detect exactly if it goes straight down. If it does, that's great. Then we'll excavate ourselves like a fake lake, and we'll just dig out a winding river path over to the other side, which will drop down into a second catch pocket for the second tree farm. And then we'll just go back across that way. Once it's flowed across the second one, we'll just drop it right off the map. I'm hoping, with a combination of pressure regulators and a sufficient uptake, that we can get ourselves a underground lake. If not, we're going to end up with a flood. It'll still be funny.
Sorry, sir, I can't do it.
Well, if we really do this, there's going to be a lot of engineering before we're involved, because we're going to have to dig ourselves a way to drain the lake and the river system in case we overfill it. We'll need the catch pocket in order to make sure we can properly flood this in the first pass, because if this doesn't flood on the first pass, we'll only get like tree growth over like some portion of it. It'll be a like jagged line where the water dried up.
Ugh, I won't do it.
And using DF hack, I can jump up here and make sure that we connected it to the right bridge, which we did. Sorry, I wanted to make sure that that was still just a sparring report. Let's see if we can't take a peek into our hospital. So, grasp impaired, stand impaired. Oh, wait, no, wait. Sorry, that's not right. Grasp impaired. Torn ligaments, torn tendons, partial broken tissue. So he got smashed pretty good and tore a ligament in the tendon, which is and impaired his ability to grasp things. Just going to set his training back a little bit, of course. I think we had splints and crutches that we confiscated from that first caravan, probably more than sufficient number to deal with this issue. He does not appear to be lurking around in our hospital. We'll use one of these for our militia, our trained militia, and we'll use the other for the generic peasant profile. Steel greaves, steel gauntlets, steel high boots, steel shields. Of course, this time we go up instead of down because it's quicker to get to steel than running through all the wood types you could possibly run through. Go to steel here, and we call this... Iron crossbows means that anybody I set up in the reserve for... actually, let's change this name. Then I could set up one for peasants with, say, spears, and one for peasants with, say, axes. And I could give the reserve squads different militia training depending on what I wanted them to do. Having everyone, 10 squads or 15 squads deep in the reserves, all firing crossbow bolts on their off time burns an enormous amount of ammunition. You have to have something available to deal with that, whether that's an automated melt cycle where it crushes down the bolts back into bars to make more metal than you put into them, or something similar. But you have to have some way to get that metal or that wood or that bone in order to produce all those bolts. And you will need them by the hundreds at that point if you put everybody into the peasant militia as archers. But for now, we can get a few squads training that way if we decide to down the road. I'm not worried about them having armor. This is simply to get them doing a martial skill. Figure out where I stashed our engraver. He's no longer doing engraving, so that means he needs company. There's Valdemar already going to work on the smoothing. His fellow engravers, I am sorry to say, to my chagrin, have been distracted from their smoothing for so long they are now better stone crafters than they are engravers. Entirely my doing, you understand. Once we have a bridge in place to seal that outer area, we'll seal that up, open an inner area, and let them in the short way. Look at those tavern goers, slowly sipping their ales. While just a block to the north of them, the peak of dwarven martial perfection marshals, beating the snot out of one another in ragtag sparring events. How many we got now? We've even got sparring coming out from the reservists who are doing their one-off. Check that out. Our hammer dwarves have begun to get into the middle single digits. Stabbers are all starting to get up to 4. Now they're starting to get the cross training finally finished up. A couple of the choppers still lagging behind. They may have just not gotten their axes very quickly, or they may still not have them. I need to check and see if we've got enough iron equipment to make sure everybody has goods. Make sure we've got arms for everyone there. Yeah, see, as I start to go down, the axe guys probably don't have... They probably just now got to their axes because they have their cloaks and their hoods, but nothing else. So we're doing the Batman thing here. Lots of cloaks and hoods, but no effective squad because they don't have all their armor and weapons yet. These guys are lined up with everything in every slot, and everything else has got... Nobody else has squats, so let's check on our arms and armor.
I shall try to think of something else.
Sir, I hate saying no to you, but no.
Guess they didn't get her moved to the get her moved to the pasture like I wanted, did they?
is here.
Slowly, the dwarves clean out the stone that we've been excavating into our tree farms to be.
I do think I can do this.
Get the miners working on this upper level tree farm. Once more.
Sorry, I can't do it, sir. I do think I can do this.
Kind of a problem. He's forbidding me from exporting amulets, which we use as a trade good sometimes. Finally going to get that bridge built, I'm hoping, and then we can seal up, and then we can let these guys have the shorter path in. Okay, so they did get all the way down. This is semi-molten rock. Basically the divider between us and the unspeakable unholy places where the Balrogs live, if you will. Above that is our fortress. Below that is a field that disintegrates everything that is tossed into it. So, we can take advantage of this. This is the ultimate dumping ground. Anything dumped into it is never coming back. But what that doesn't give us is an accurate picture of where all the magma be. Okay, so it is after 10 o'clock. We're already over time. Let's take a moment to take stock on our fortress here before we go, and then we'll raid some poor unsuspecting streamer. One moment here, let's see. So as you can see, stone crafting continues to be a massive output for our fortress. And we'll basically turn it on and off periodically for everyone to allow them to have a trade skill. And then we can turn it off and put them all doing other work. Suddenly all this labor is gone and they're not doing it anymore. And then put these guys back on because we want them doing it all the time. And now we've freed everybody from the labor that they were working on. I'm going to have to see if there is a way with Dwarf Therapist to have an overlay so that I say these folks can get this skill, assign it only to these groups of professions and not to those groups of professions without having to bulk select everybody every time. Because that would allow me to turn on, say for example in the spring or the summer every year I could turn on stone crafting and everybody go do Dwarven Etsy for a couple of seasons. And then turn it off and spend a couple seasons where they're tending to fortress business rather than their own personal artisanal business. That's right. I wanted to check and see if these are the folks. Some of these folks are in the Archer squad I haven't yet set up. Let's do that before I forget. Let's not go another episode with me not remembering that I have to set up an archery range. Yeah, there's probably a way to do it. Like I said, I'll have to look. It's one of those things where it's just obscure enough that maybe it doesn't. Obviously, you can bulk select professions. I probably could condense them down, select all the professions in a blink, and then just enable them that way. And then say, okay, well, now I know. Those guys are going to get it. And presto, I can enable it that way. You know. It's going to take a while to get multiple levels of floor dug out here, but we're going to do it. Catch pocket over here, a small artificial lake, and then river where stuff flows through. I think this is all doable. I won't be able to do a waterfall inside the garden. The potential for flooding, I think, is probably too great. We'll see.
It won't work. A baby's been born.
Well... Okay, guys, I think I'm going to call it here for this evening, and we'll pick up again tomorrow evening at the usual time. At this point, we've pretty well got this fortress established. It's just a matter of getting down to the magma and bringing the magma back up so we can set up magma workshops. And then we will have everything we need pretty well right here. We'll have the tree farm set up shortly. We'll even do it aesthetically. At that point, I won't necessarily retire this fortress, but I'll set this world aside and start up a new one so we can have something a little more exciting than a fully developed fortress just hammering away. But that's not going to be for a session or two yet. We want to finish the product first. Alright guys, I will catch you tomorrow. Let's see who we're going to raid. Salford Sal is doing science. Let's raid the science lab.